Good evening. It's a quiet summer night here in Michigan, and I welcome you to the fourth week of Microsoft Excel. I don't have time to do everything I want to do, but there are some things I do want to do. I want to show you an if function, a logical function. The if function. What is an if function? If functions are logical. It's binary. There's only two answers. If I'm looking at quality control, it pass or it fails. Okay? Based on my criteria, your part data is pass or fails, or true false, That I'd like to show you. Alex did this video, and I hope you can hear his voice. It very clearly explained what an if function is and has some pretty cool animation. It also shows what an if error is. So here you go. Tell me if you can hear Alex, please. He has a good radio voice.
A logical function evaluates an expression, a logical test, and produces different outputs depending on whether the logical test is true or false. Let's start with a basic logical function. Select cell D43. Go to Formulas, Function Library, Logical, If. The Function Arguments dialog box will open. This function will compare cells D38 and D40. If D38 is greater than D40, it will return the text AM. If not, the output will be PM. Click OK to accept the function arguments. All formulas start with the equals sign. If identifies the function. Inside the parentheses are the logical test, D38 greater than D40, and the outputs if true, AM, or if false, PM. Quote marks are used to enclose text to be displayed. Commas separate the test and outputs of the logical function. If error is a special if function that controls how errors are displayed. Copy cell D41 and paste the formula from B41 to I41. The formula is a division equation. However, because there is no data in several cells, it creates a divide by zero error. Select B41. Delete the existing formula. Go to Formulas, Function Library, Logical, and select If Error. The function's argument will open. For value, enter B38 divided by B36. For value if error, enter 0. Click OK to accept the function arguments. Fill the formulas across the row. Instead of showing the divide by 0 error, we see a 0. However, cells that have data to calculate display the results. This helps people see the data more easily than when the row was mostly errors. The logical test can include a function, such as sum. Go to cell B36. Go to Formulas, Function Library, Logical, If. Enter the logical test. Sum B12 to B35 is greater than 0. Enter the value if true. The same sum B12 to B35. Enter the value if false. No data. This formula asks, is the sum of the cells B12 to B35 greater than 0? If yes, true, then calculate and display the sum of B12 through B35. If not, display the text, no data. Click OK to accept the function arguments. Fill across from C36 to H36. The cells with data don't change, but the empty cells now let users know at a glance why there is no answer.
I like the way he talks. Thank you for allowing me to show that video. I have one that Alex does that also shows the charting functions. I would like to use this time to do one of the skill labs. They're both the same. They are using the sum if, count if, average if. I have one experiment to show you before I go through the test out. Remember we did this last week. We're looking at the crash data and we use the formulas to pull out data from the date and time, the month, the day, the year. We also use the formula for text. Let me get my left and right. And use the right to pull out the last two letters on the right of this time, AM or PM. So I have a column of data that we could use to count AM and PM. And I have a couple of formulas to do that with. First, this is what it'll look like. When I do count if, the purpose of count is count me if I match your criteria. Count me if I match your criteria. My criteria is going to be AM. So let's do it. I have a little statistical box over here on the right, and I have my cursor on L2, where I want the answer. The column that has AM or PM is the H column. My ribbon is formulas. My ribbon is formulas. My book is more functions. It is the statistical ones. There they go. There's average if. There's count if. When I click on count if, the function arguments are open. I move them out of my way. Where is the range? Where is my data? I'm going to select H. And when I select column H, you can see it has AM, AM, PM. What criteria? What am I looking for? I would like to count it if it is AM. And when I type in AM and hit tab, the formula results are already displayed on the bottom. Out of all of my rows of data, hundreds, there's 141 data points that were AM. Count me if I'm PM. My cursor's on cell L3. More functions, statistical, count if, count me if. The function argument's open and my range is at column H. This time my criteria is PM. Count me if I have PM. There's 219 of them. Let's do that and test out. Same thing. There's the lab, the skill test, and then there's the applied one, the county fair. I'm going to do the county fair one because it has a trick question that I had to do a couple of times without swearing. The second one is on the horse race sheet. Create a formula that will return yes if the qualifying time is sum if, average if, count if. We're using this to do the product sheet. Test out is open and I have on the sheet my applied lab. I have to scroll down so you can see here is the table reference, row, category, weight. But way down here in the bottom, that makes it difficult to see on my screen, is the table I'm supposed to fill in. Here we go. You're in charge of 2 events at the county fair, and here is what you're supposed to do. There are 2 sheets here. I'm on the giant produce sheet. My cursor's on I-17. I want the total weight, sum if, pumpkins. So, the ribbon that I want is formulas. It's math and trig, sum if. The function argument's open, math and trig, sum if. Sum of the weight if it is a pumpkin. The range is D5 through D14. D5 through D14. What am I looking for? Pumpkins. Spell it right. Pumpkin, no S. Where's the sum? Over here in the E column. And when I say OK, there you go. Do it again for the squash. My cursor's here on I-18. Math and trig. Sum if. Sum it up if. Where's the range? I got to move my arguments out of the way. D5 through D14. What is the criteria? This time it's squash. Where's the answer? The sum of the range? Right here in the E column. I'm summing up their range. One more time for the watermelon. I clicked on I-19, math and trig, sum if. The function arguments are my way. My range is all of the names here in the category D5 through D14. My criteria this time is the watermelon. I spelled watermelon wrong. No. Won't find it unless it's spelled right. And the weights are the sum range here from E5 through E14. There they are. Okay, for each one, I'm going to look up their criteria and apply a formula. Average if. For the pumpkins, more functions, statistical, average if. Here are the categories. My criteria is pumpkin. And the weight that I'm going to average is in the E column, E5 through E14. Count if, that's the number of entries. How many pumpkin ones do I have? My cursor's in K17, more functions, statistical, count me if I'm a pumpkin. So I'm going to select all of the ones from D5 through D14, and I am counting pumpkins. P-U-M, pumpkin. I can't spell it. Okay. There's 5 pumpkins. Let me finish up the average weight. More functions, statistical, average if. My range will be all of these produce. The criteria is squash in row 2. And the E column is where the weights are from the average, E5 through E14. Last time, Mr. Watermelon, to you. The formula is more functions, statistical, average if. I am looking for watermelon, so my criteria is watermelon. And I want to average the weight, so that's E5 through E14 in this spreadsheet. I got them. 2 more counts and we're done with this. My cursor's for counting the squash, K18. It is math and trig count, pardon me, more functions, statistical count if. I moved the arguments out of my way, selected the range, D5 through D14, and I am looking for squash. Oh, I can't spell. That means Excel can't find it if I don't spell it right. There are 2 with squash. And for watermelon is my last count, statistical count if. I selected the range where the products are, D5 through D14. And the criteria is watermelon. Okay. Shall we score it? Oh no, that's just sheet 1. That's our giant produce sheet. I know the answer is supposed to be in F5. I am to create a formula that will return yes if the race time is less than, or equal to the qualifying time. The formula is this. Formulas. Logical. If this formula is less than the qualifying time, if it's less than, you're supposed to say no. If it's greater than, you're supposed to say yes. The problem is the formula is correct, but it's supposed to be absolute. Which one is supposed to be absolute? The qualifying time in H5. So I go up to the formula at the top and click on H5. It turns red. I need to make that absolute. I can type in $H, $5, or I can hit the F4. Elizabeth gets the cookie for remembering. Now it'll fill down correctly, as it should. 2.25 is greater than the qualifying time. Yes. 2.0 Pete Lightning is not greater than the qualified time. So no, it doesn't advance. So that was the answer to that. Keep going. I will post our lecture here, and I will stay online if you have questions. Thank you very much for coming.